What's up, guys? Welcome into Cover 7. Finally, we're talking about a big game here, and this will be week one. I'm going to release this video just a hair bit early, as there's actually a slew of really good games in week one. So I want to cover a majority of those and get those out a little early. But we got a good one here, Clemson, and they are catching 10 points. I believe this opened up at about 11, if I'm not mistaken. At LSU on the road here, the over-under set currently to 51.5. Now, these numbers may change up until kickoff. I almost guarantee they will. With that being said, before I talk about both teams, guys, just want to say thank you to everyone who's liked, commented, and subscribed to my small channel. It's been a lot of fun this past year. Got to meet a lot of new people. Again, guys, take this with a grain of salt. I don't claim to be a college football expert, analyst, insider, anything like that. As far as last year's betting went, I hit 54.3% of my bets, was pretty good, was pretty profitable, got hot at the end of the year in a college football playoff. That's why I do this, though. It's all about fun. Let's talk about the line here real quick. I know this seems like, for two ranked teams here, this seems like a pretty big line. I actually think it's about spot on, honestly, in my opinion. LSU is at home. We all know LSU is, or if not, is the hardest place to play in college football in Baton Rouge. They're actually 32-6 the past 5 seasons at home. Believe it or not, though, LSU hadn't won an opener in 5 straight games until last year when they beat Clemson down in Death Valley. So say what you will here. This one's at home for LSU. The line does seem a little bit big. I like it, though. We'll talk more here at the end what I think. But let's start with LSU. And, man, I've talked about LSU a little bit this offseason, and we kind of know what happened, right? I'm not going to go through the whole Lane Kiffin thing, but he's bringing on a whole new coaching staff for the most part. Regardless of what you think of Lane Kiffin, and I'm not take this with a grain of salt, LSU fans. I'm not a huge Lane Kiffin guy. I don't like the way he acts off the field, but when it comes to coaching and winning ball games, the dude's one of the best. I mean, he's an elite recruiter. We know that. He's done that at Florida Atlantic. He did that at Ole Miss. It's been ridiculous what he did at Ole Miss. Ole Miss was kind of a doormat of the SEC until he got there, turned that program around, put a lot of good players in the NFL. But say what you will, he's a good coach. Now, it will be really exciting to see what he can do at LSU. LSU, most of my life, has been a big name brand with some elite level talent each and every year. They killed it in the transfer portal. I believe they were number one, brought on like 40 or so players through the portal. So pretty much rehauled this whole entire roster. Last year, it wasn't a very good season. I think LSU was 7-6. I expect them to be much better this year. We'll see how much better. And we'll see if they can pull off this victory here at home and how they look against Clemson. Now, on the offensive side of the ball, I want to keep it parked here. They got Charlie Weiss. He comes in from Ole Miss. He was the guy over there running the offenses. You guys know what he did with Trinidad Chambliss. They found this guy at some D3 school over in Michigan somewhere, or wherever the hell he was from, and Trinidad stepped in and just put up elite numbers last year. Let's call it what it is. And I know you guys, if you don't watch my channel, Trinidad Chambliss is my Heisman Trophy winner this year. I love this kid. I think he's just ridiculously good. I really like my Dolphins to draft him. Honestly, that's just bias from my end here. But he's a damn good quarterback. A lot of that has to do with that system. I think they're going to implement that now over at LSU. Now, Sam Levitt is the quarterback. He played, I think he started his career, if I'm not mistaken, at Michigan State. He was only there for a year, went over to Arizona State, played under Dillingham a couple years ago. Was it 2024? Arizona State made the college football playoff. They lost to Texas, but it was a pretty good game. Sam Levitt was a quarterback. Now, I'm a little hesitant on Sam Levitt. I'm not near as high on him as a lot of people are in the media world. I think he's a good quarterback as far as like mobility goes. He's a big dude. He's strong. But on that like 2024 team, that was a Cam Scattaboo and defensive-led team. Let's just call it what it is. Sam Levitt wasn't a bad quarterback. They had a really good receiver in Jordan Tyson. But let's just call it what it is. Sam Levitt didn't really lead that team. I mean, I'm not saying he lost that game, but they ran the ball a lot with Cam. I mean, and their defense was really good that year. But now he is here, right? He's at LSU. What can he do in this scheme and in this system? I think he's going to be pretty good here. I'll be honest with you. Charlie Weiss Jr. loves to run the RPO system. That'll fit Levitt's, build perfectly, right? The kick and run. He can make some, off play, throws, stuff like that. I don't think he's an elite level pocket passer, but he can make just enough throws, and I think he will in this system, and he's going to keep defenses off balance with his legs, dude. He just will. And like I said, he's a pretty big kid. He's pretty strong. It'll be interesting to see what he can do against Clemson here. But as far as the running back position goes for LSU, both Barry and then Caden Durham are back. I like Durham. He has a high ceiling. It'd be interesting to see if he breaks out this year. But a guy everybody is talking about, and I was just reading this the other day, is Dylan Jones. I believe he was from Wisconsin, was sitting on their roster, got hurt a couple years ago, whatever the case may be. He's over on LSU now. A lot of talk about him this offseason, how good he looks. I believe he's going to be the starter in this game. We'll see what he does. So you got a lot of depth, regardless if you're LSU at the running back position, which is always great. At wide receiver, it's pretty much a whole new core here. And we know what LSU has been as far as wide receivers go. I could name the list of Brian Thomas Jr.'s, Malik Neighbors, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson. These guys put out Ohio State level wide receivers each and every year. I think they're going to be pretty good this year. I'm not really 100% here who's all starting, but Jace Brown, Jackson Harris, Winston Watkins, Trey Brown, Eugene Wilson from Florida, who is a really speedy receiver, is on this roster as well. I think they're going to use all of them, to be honest. And these guys are all fast. If you look at their 40 times, holy shit, this looks like an NFL combine type team here as far as the receivers go. If Levitt can get it out to him in space, man, watch the hell out. As far as the tight end goes, I'm telling you guys, I said this a couple weeks ago. A guy by the name of Trey Green. I'm telling you, this dude, if you guys remember Kyle Pitts from Florida, big, tall dude playing with the Falcons, still a pretty good tight end in the NFL. This guy is built like him. He's like 6'7", 240. I believe he's the best tight end in the country. I think he'll be the first tight end selected in the 2027 draft. This dude is a physical freak. I mean, I'm literally, when you'll notice him as soon as he's on the field. It'll be interesting if they can use him in the right way and get him involved. A monster, hell of an athlete, big dude, strong, can block. He's got every physical tool you could possibly want in a tight end. And then the O-line. This is something I do have a little bit of questions about, and we don't have a lot of data as far as this year goes because they completely retooled most of this line, but it was bad last year. How bad? 129th per Pro Football Focus as far as where they finished blocking for pass blocking, and then 80th, I believe, in run blocking. It wasn't good for LSU last year. They really underperformed as far as the unit goes, and I know Kiffin knows that. He's talked about it, addressed it in the media. They got to be better. They've added a lot of pieces through the portal. I'm not going to go through every guy, but you guys know what I say over here about the O-line. It's just as important as a quarterback coming back, and you got to be able to build some sort of chemistry and cohesion. Will they do that? We'll find out. I'm a believer in Lane Kiffin. I am as far as a coach goes. I think he'll have it figured out. It might be a little slow to start the year, but I believe as time goes on throughout this year in that SEC schedule, they'll be one of the better O-lines in the country, or excuse me, in the SEC at least. Let's flip over to the defensive side of the ball. The guy I love over there is Blake Baker. You guys remember a couple of years ago when they had Jaden Daniels, LSU's defense was absolute dog shit. They brought this guy in. He has done an amazing job there. Now LSU's defense has taken a massive step forward, and he runs that 4-2-5, multiple different looks, likes to bring a lot of pressure, and run some press man coverage out there. LSU had a good defense last year. They finished 27th in total defense, only gave up less than 20 points per game, which is really good, especially in the SEC, considering the schedules they play over there and the offenses you face. That's pretty good. They finished in top 20 in almost every single statistical category defensively last year. 4 starters return. You guys remember all-world linebacker Whit Weeks. He is back. Pretty damn good player as well. And then LSU went out and picked up a ton of guys through the portal. Again, I can't keep mentioning that, how many new guys are on this team, but a lot of these guys, and I don't like using the word super talented or whatever. Everybody says that about their own team. LSU recruits at such a ridiculous level. It's up there with the Ohio States, the Oregons, the Georgias, teams like that, Alabama. A lot of these guys are really good, and I believe a lot of them are going to be rotating in and out. That's just how I feel about LSU, and especially that front line. Like I said, what I'm watching for in this game on the side of the ball is LSU's front line. Like I said, if they can defensively shut down Clemson's running game, which was non-existent last year, LSU is going to win this game by a landslide. I've said that all offseason when I had to talk about this game. That's how I still feel today up until kickoff here. So if they can do that, Clemson's going to be one-dimensional, and you guys know that as well as I do. It's never good, right? Especially when you're playing in Baton Rouge. Let's talk about Clemson here, a team that I want to talk about last year real quickly. I mean, it was a 7-6 season. That's the worst season Clemson has had in over 15 years. It was terrible. And what was really weird about it, you guys remember up until last year, Clemson was the number 4 ranked team to start the year. There were people out there putting their hard-earned cash on Clemson winning the national title. While I was not one of those guys, I did think Clemson, like a majority of everybody else on the planet, was going to be a top 10 team and was probably going to be in the playoffs and win the ACC between them and Miami. That's how I felt about it. It didn't happen. It was ugly last year. I don't have to tell Clemson fans that. I know halfway through the year they were pretty much checked out. But they got rid of Garrett Riley. Let's talk about the offense. I've never been a Garrett Riley guy. I didn't think he knew what the hell he was doing when he was there. And it was bad. It was really bad. You bring in Chad Morris, who used to be the OC for Clemson back, I believe, 2011 to 2014. And you want to know how many points per game Clemson averaged when he was the OC? 36.4. So almost 37 points per game there. With Garrett Riley led teams, they averaged just barely 30. So a full touchdown more offensively under Morris. So I think that's a great thing. I do think he will get this Clemson team to pick it up on offense and figure out a way to run the goddamn ball. I just mentioned that earlier, but God, it was bad last year. The other question here is Cade Klubnik. He is gone finally. That kid felt like he played 6 years there. He's off with the Jets now and actually playing really well, believe it or not, in preseason anyway. I thought he was always a talented guy, and I don't think Clemson and Garrett Riley ever got out of him what they should have. That's just my opinion here from a bystander, but it wasn't good. Now you bring in Chris Venza. I don't even know how to say his name. He's been on the roster for 3 years. He's thrown over just 100 passes. He's the veteran guy. And then you got this 19-year-old three-star kid in, was it Tate Reynolds? Everybody's been talking about him. He looks really good in camp. This kid's from Arizona, I believe, and he's got really nice size and athleticism. Actually, the kid is a higher recruit as far as baseball goes than football. I was watching some stuff on him the other night, and yeah, he looks like a freak out there. Only problem is he's young. He's a freshman. I don't know if you can really roll him out week 1 against LSU on the road. I know I wouldn't. I would expect the veteran to start here in Venza and see what happens. But they do have a backup plan there, I think. And I think you will see Tate Reynolds at some point in this season. I really do. It kind of depends on what Clemson's offense looks like. As far as the wide receiver core, this is the good news. Bryant Wesco Jr. is back, and then TJ Moore. These guys have been playing. They got a lot of snaps under their belt. These guys weren't utilized, in my opinion, well enough under Riley either. They're both very talented receivers. And like I said, those guys can make some plays. It's just, can they get the ball out to him? Can they run the ball enough to use these guys down the field is the big thing. That's what really hampered this offense last year. And then they brought in a freshman by the name of Neum Burrows. This kid is fast as shit, 4-star kid out of Florida, obviously. They're going to play him in the slot. I think he's going to start. It'll be interesting to see if they can get him the ball and kind of use him. I would use him like Miami uses Malachi Tony. That's just me. I'm not saying this kid is Malachi Tony, but what I'm saying is the way you can get him the ball, get him the ball in space, let that speed make some plays. As far as the O-line plays, the center position, which is Harris Sewell, outside of that, they got a ton of rotating pieces here for Clemson and multiple, different variations they're going to use here. I don't know who the starters are going to be. I've tried to look at multiple sites. I've watched multiple podcasts on just Clemson alone, and nobody really knows. So a lot of young guys in there scattered in with some veterans. The O-line plays got to be better as well. And that a lot of that has to do with the running game as well, right? That's why I didn't want to talk about the running game until last year. It's going to be Gideon Davis and Chris Johnson Jr. That's what it's going to be back there. Like I mentioned, Clemson has to find some sort of success in this game in particular on the ground. I mean, you always want to run the ball well, but if you can't run the ball, LSU is going to tee off with you with Blake Baker in that defense. I promise you. So like I said, the O-line play, running back play here is going to be huge for Clemson offensively. Let's flip it over to the defense and Tom Allen, who I do like. Tom Allen did a decent job last year. The stats are kind of skewed here. I think Clemson finished, 55th in total defense last year, which wasn't terrible by any means, but they were god-awful on the back end. They gave up over 255 yards per game through the air. Their front seven is all back, which is great, or at least you would think. But that front four, especially the interior linemen, they got to get some sacks. They didn't get much pressure last year. I don't know how many sacks they had, but it wasn't many. They created no turnovers up front, no forced fumbles, no nothing. That's got to be better. The secondary, they went out, and I got to give Dabo credit. I shit on him all the time about not using the transfer portal. He went out and got some guys. Elliott Washington from Penn State, he's a pretty good player there. I watched him over in the Big Ten here. Jerome Carter, Corey Myrick to help bolster this secondary. They got to do something out there. Like I said, impressed Dabo actually used a transfer portal. I think he's coming around. That's a whole topic for another day on that, but they got to be better defensively too this year. There's no doubt about it. As far as the prediction goes, guys, and I had to think about this for a while. I'm going to lay the 10 here with LSU. And I know that's a lot of points. Typically, when I bet, I don't like laying anything over a touchdown. But man, with all the new pieces and coaches with LSU, it's a big question mark. But it's Lane Kiffin. I can't go against this guy when it comes to offensive success. He's proven it time and time again, and there is no doubt about it. LSU's got one of the more talented rosters in the country this year. I'm not surprised. It's Lane Kiffin and Charlie Weiss Jr. They're going to put up points. Now, I do think they're going to start the season a little slower. Typically, the defenses start a year out ahead of the offenses. But by the end of the year, the offenses are usually clicking. Like I said, I can't doubt Lane Kiffin here. On the other side of the ball, Dabo, man, while I harp on him because his ego gets in his way, I just truly feel that's what it is. I think he's still a good coach. I really do. And he's been at Clemson now for 17 years. And the guy, you look at his win-loss record, it's impressive as hell. It's one of the best in the country. I don't know if they have enough here for LSU. I really don't. I think LSU is going to be able to move the ball. I think this game will be close in the first half, within a touchdown, maybe somewhere around there. But man, I just don't have enough data to sit here and put enough stock into Clemson's offense moving the ball against this loaded LSU defense. I just don't. I really don't. The speed of LSU defensively stands out here. As far as the quarterback edge, you got to lean LSU and Sam Levitt here. I don't even know what Clemson's going to do offensively with the quarterback position yet. Like I said, I think it'll be Venza, but I really don't know. But Sam Levitt is high on a lot of people's Heisman list. I've seen him play enough to know that he's a damn good quarterback. So I lean LSU there. As far as the running back room, got to lean LSU there too, along with the O-line. They got a lot of depth. They got a lot of backs back there. The wide receiver room for Clemson is loaded, no doubt about it. But you're talking about LSU here, so I'll call that a wash. Defensively, though, like I mentioned, all day it's LSU here. I would be shocked if LSU gave up more than 4 touchdowns in this game. I think that would be nuts. So I have the game being somewhere around the line of LSU 27 or 30, Clemson 13 or 17. I lean LSU here into points, guys. I'm going to bet it. I actually bet it already. I got the number at 9.5. I got it. It was down there on one of the books the other day, so I grabbed that. But I do think LSU wins this game outright, and I do think they cover. So with that being said, guys, let me know down in the comments. I would love to hear what your guys' thoughts are. Until then, we'll see you next time.